Hi guys, welcome back to my drama school audition series. You may have noticed a change in location. That's because I'm now officially living at drama school. In this video, I'm going to help you prepare for your next audition. My biggest tip here is to start preparing as soon as you possibly can. Start now, even if you're not planning on doing any auditions until next year. Start now. This way, you've got it in your head, you know it's going to stay in there, it gives you a chance to see what works and what doesn't, and you're going to be less likely to make a mistake on the day. Once you have everything prepared, it's still really important to continue practicing. I recommend rehearsing once every 3 weeks, especially if your auditions are spread out, because you want to make sure it's fresh in your head. In terms of song preparation, make sure you cut your sheet music to fit the requirements. I had 2 different copies, a 1:30 copy and a 2-minute copy. I usually buy mine from Sheet Music Direct or musicnotes.com, which I'll link in the description below. You need to make sure that the cuts are really obvious to the pianist and the music as well, because sometimes you can print out the sheet music and it's really faded and horrible and they're like,
what is this?
When it comes to chopping your sheet music, make sure you use a pencil to cross out sections rather than remove entire pages. If you're really struggling with cutting sheet music, just pop a message in the comments below and I might be able to point you in the right direction. One thing I've learned about being at drama school is the importance of acting through song. Most of the time, schools are more interested in how you can convey the story rather than having perfect vocal technique. This doesn't mean sing atrociously and don't think about how you're singing, because it's still important. It just means they're more interested in how you can engage the panel and how you can portray a character. This is more of a separate performing note, but whilst you're singing, make sure you're thinking about your posture. Having good posture is really, really important because it makes sure that there's no tension in your body and your breath is supported. I also find that your posture can actually affect your characterization. When it comes to actually rehearsing your song, if you can, try and have someone else in the room with you, whether that be a guardian, a friend, a teacher. I know it can be scary to sing in front of someone, but honestly, having that peer feedback is so important. It brings things up that you might not have noticed yourself that might be clearer to an audience. However, try not to get too many different opinions because this can just confuse the performance. I also recommend staging your performance a little bit. I don't mean like walk around the space, but make sure you have a purpose and that you understand the character, because the panel will be able to tell if you don't understand. This could be the simple use of gestures, levels, and placing someone else in the scene with your eye line. Okay, let's talk monologues. The preparation process for monologues is extremely important. I have one word for you: context. I cannot stress enough, the panel will be able to tell if you haven't read the play or at least looked into the story. I know it seems like a huge effort buying the play, but honestly, it's so worth it. You'll have much more of an understanding of your character. In an audition, it can actually help you visualize the performance. Just a quick side note about having the play. When I was rehearsing and performing my monologue in my self-tapes, I would often read the scene that led into my monologue. This meant that I could step into the shoes of the character and understand the meaning behind what I was actually saying. Everyone's going to have a different way of making the monologue work for them, but these are just some little tips that I can give you that might help. My favourite technique when practicing monologues is to split it into different sections based on emotion and feelings. Read through the monologue and make note of every time something changes in the character. May that be their objective, the topic of conversation, the emotion they're feeling. Once you've figured this out, you can then start linking the emotions to the way you might deliver the line. The next step would be to add dynamic contrast using changes of pace and volume. Breaking it down is really important because you want to keep it interesting. For example, if your character is feeling anxious, they might speak faster than if they were sad. Now, some schools like to do an acting workshop, whereas some simply will just ask you to do a monologue in a separate room in front of the panel. Either way, they love to redirect you because this shows them your potential and how well you can take direction. That sounds scary, but if you're prepared, it can actually be a really fun and creative experience. In one of my auditions, I was asked to forget everything I already knew about the character. They asked me to kind of let loose a little bit and pretend that I was flirting with the other character. You can help yourself massively by practicing this in the rehearsal process. If you try performing your piece in different ways, it's going to be less likely to phase you in an audition setting. I would also suggest switching it up every once in a while anyway to keep it fresh. Sometimes the monologue can grow stale if you constantly perform it in the same way. Make sure you know what your character's objective is in the scene and try to make it obvious to the panel. Thank you so much for watching today's video. It was quite a short one today, but in the next video I'll be talking a little bit about the application process.